Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to the first official Willoughby State of the City. It's interesting, over the last 8 years, we have had State of the Cities, but they've been through the Chamber of Commerce, which are really primarily business-driven, and I don't know if many of you happen to visit those. But it's not the first time that we've come together as a city and have met together. Over the past years, we've had multiple community engagement meetings, and we've had them for the police levy, of course. We've had several of those. Todd Field, as we studied the amphitheater and the Sugar River Trail, the Euclid Avenue Pool, Osborne Park planning. So we've had these get-togethers, and we now realize that we're not doing as good a job as we should getting the message out to get you, the community members, to come to be a part of them, or at least a part of those that you think you want to become a part of. So to help with that, we're going to continue to have community engagement meetings, of course. But what we want to do is host this State of the City every year, and this State of the City is going to be specific to you, the community members, to catch you up on what we're doing and how we're performing, and then get your feedback for the future. Now, a couple things. We're going to go through quite a bit here today, and Shayna and Judine in the back have some note cards. If you have specific questions, just jot them down before we finish up, and then we'll try to answer them. We already have some questions that came to us through emails, so we'll respond to those, of course. And then what we're going to do is I'd like to leave here with kind of an understanding of how we can best communicate with you, our public. So we're going to talk about 3 things today, or actually multiple things. We're going to talk about public finance, we're going to talk about public safety, we're going to talk about economic development initiatives that we're doing, we're going to talk about infrastructure, and then we're going to talk about some of the events and other things that we're doing in the city outside of typical city business. So the first, in terms of city finances. So what you're seeing here is our revenue graph going back to 2017. And it's impressive, right? We've increased revenue 78% over the last 8.5 years. But you can't look at that in a vacuum. What you really have to look at is the expense side of the equation. So you'll see the red bar now, that's our expenses. You'll see a dip in COVID years, that's obvious, of course. And then what you'll see is, as of today, that red line is trending just a little bit below the green line, which is what you want, right? And we're happy to say that we've managed our expenses 5% below inflation over those years, and that's how you need to run whether it's a business, whether it's a government, they have to be run the same way. But there's 2 things I want to point out. See those 2 yellow dots? In business, that's called net operating loss. In city government, it's called a deficit. So 2 times over the past years, we've had a deficit. One occurred in 2018-ish, my first year here as mayor. And then it happened just shortly after the COVID. And that was probably the result of the rapid inflation that occurred. So you see a dip in expenses during COVID years and then a sudden increase. During the COVID years, inflation was 15% over those 2 or 3 years. That's how much and we've all seen it, right? We saw supply side restrictions, all kinds of things that kind of hampered us both personally as well as us financially. What we're going to talk about next is public safety. So I want to leave this one last message with public finance. Our mission is always to see that red line below the green line. And the reason that we have a general fund budget carryover every year is to protect against those 2 yellow marks, so that when we have bad years, we're not laying off city workers, we're not cutting back on services. So we carry a healthy fund balance to protect us against bad years, just like most of us do in our own households. So public safety, and this is a concern for all of us, right? And we see the news every day. There's another thing happening, another event, another crime that's committed. But what's amazing is crime at every level over the past 10 years has actually been reducing. So let me share with you some statistics for the city. And by the way, these statistics are coming from the Ohio Incident-Based Reporting System. What our police department does is they report to Ohio, this reporting system. They in turn report to the FBI, who keep the national database. So over the last 10 years, our violent crime has been almost steady over that 10-year period. And in fact, in 2025, it's the lowest it's been in 10 years. Nonviolent crime, property crime, it's actually descending, and it's actually 95% less than what it was in 2015. So at both levels, both violent crime, violent crime and property crime, they've been reducing. Now, you might say to yourself, what does that mean, and how do we compare our statistics with statistics either at the state level or at the federal level? Well, there's a second group of data keepers, and they're the FBI, and they have what's called the UCR, the Unified Crime Reporting System. Now, the Unified Crime Reporting System reports this data on a per capita basis for every 1,000 residents. So here's what it looks like at the federal level, all crime, property crime and violent crime. Federal level, it's been reduced by 26%. State level, all crime is down 37%. Here in Willoughby, 54%. We're more than half of what crime rates are in the nation right now. So when you hear the commentary, the sky is falling, we should be careful, we've got to protect ourselves. The reality is our police officers and the management of our police team are doing an excellent job. Kudos to them for what they do every day for us. I get to see on the inside what happens. And in fact, I just want to take a step back because I forgot something so important, and that's to introduce our directors. So if you would, I'd like to just have them all stand up real quickly. And we have our Assistant Police Chief, Matt Tartaglia, Chief Todd Unger. I know that our Finance Director, Cher, is here. I know that Tom Thielman, Economic Director, is here. Shana Boyd works with me, is here. Dan Connect, our Service Director, is here. Judine Banker, our Parks and Rec Director, is here. Did I miss anybody, team? Oh, who did I miss? Yeah. So if I could have a round of applause for our Service Director. Thank you. And I can't forget the people that I work with that are technically my boss, and that's our City Council. And I think they're all here tonight, maybe with the exception of one. So I see Ken Carey is here. I see our Council Vice President, John Tomaselli, is here. Bob Carr, our Council President, is here. Larry Luciano, our newly minted Ward 5 Councilman, is here. And did I miss any? Oh, and Christy Sievers is sitting right over Ward 1 Councilman. Again, we've been blessed, not only in my time here at the city, but in the years prior to my as mayor. I've been blessed with a city council and a mayor that work very, very well together. We have our differences, we voice them, we fight for our causes, but at the end of the day, we come together and make the best decisions for our residents. So if you could just give it up for our city council as well. And then last, I can't forget the person that drives me every day, and that's my wife, Joanne. So she puts up on a daily basis with me leaving at 5 in the morning, coming home angry, and that's just when I don't have night meetings. So Joanne, thank you for putting up with all that. So again, we'll double back now. We just talked a little bit about public safety. We're going to talk now a little bit about public safety on our other side of the equation. That's our fire department. So what you're going to see here in this next chart is our fire department responses since 2018. Again, you see a dip in 2020, the COVID years, and it's escalating. What's happened is that 2025, our highest call volume ever at 6,500 calls, and we have not affected our response times. Meaning, even with that many calls, we're still responding to almost all emergencies within the given time frames that we should be responding to them to. What's more impressive is that last year, over half of our calls, we had 2 calls at the same time, which means we had 2 crews on the road servicing our residents at exactly the same time. So you can ask yourself, how do we deal with that kind of pressure at the fire department when they're literally on the move all the time, every day? Well, we've done a few things. First is we've hired 3 new full-time firefighters with the SAFER grant. We're purchasing 2 new fire vehicles and 1 renovated fire vehicle, an aerial truck, a new ambulance, and then we're retrofitting an existing ambulance. And I think, Chief, I think I'm correct in this. We're taking a brand new chassis, taking the box off of one of our current ambulances, mounting it on that chassis. And this is how our safety forces roll. If there's a way to save a couple dollars and still provide superior service, they're doing it. City departments update. I just introduced our city department heads. Finance. Cher and her team do an exceptional job. They've won the Auditor of the State with Distinction Award and the Star Certificate. This is not the first time. They've won this award multiple times. And these are our auditors' reports coming back saying our books are clean, we're doing the right thing. Parks and Recreation, another example of saving our citizens money. Our Parks and Rec garage, for any of you that have seen it, is in horrible shape and it needs to be removed and replaced. And we actually had some studies on what it would take and how much it would cost to do that. Well, that study showed that it would cost about $2.4 million to remove and replace our Parks and Rec building. Fortunately, a landowner right next door to our service center was selling a building. He owns multiple properties in the city. He negotiated with us without a realtor, so he never paid a real estate commission. And we purchased a building that could be easily converted into a service garage with a savings of $1.5 million to us. So again, Judine and our service department did an excellent job managing cost and making sure that we make good decisions spending your money. And then last, we're pleased to announce we have a new service director, Dan Connect. Dan comes to us from the city of Euclid, where he was service director, lives in the city of Willoughby Hills, and he's a Willoughby South High grad, so he's a local boy. And he hit the ground running this year because he came to our city in probably the worst winter since 1977 and had to spend 5,000 tons of salt in a year. I don't think we spent that much or spread that much salt in the last 5 years. So, but he did a great job keeping our roads clear, and he's hit the ground running. I mean, he's really learned what we are all about in very short order. So economic development, we've got quite a bit going on, and we're going to share some of those with you now. One of the things we're real proud of is that 25 Public Square is now open. And if you remember, this is the former Union High School, and it went through 10 or 12 years of negotiating back and forth about what we could do with it. We felt strongly, and this goes back 15 years, that it had to stay online. It's an important part of our community. It anchors what we call our public square, right? It's our West Point Park, and to a lot of people it has meaning, and so we felt strongly it can't go away. It needs to stay. So it took us, a good 12 years to find a development team willing to take a risk redeveloping this building. Now, as a point of reference, this school buildings to convert to residential, what this is, are very hard, and the reason is because school buildings are very inefficient. Developers like to maintain about 85% efficiency when they're doing a brand new apartment building, and this building is 50% efficient. And the reason is you've got very, very wide corridors, you've got very, very big stairwells. So the building inherently is inefficient, could not have been converted easily to office space. Its only practical use was residential, and we got a developer finally to acquire it, renovate it, and rebuild it. It's open now. It's more than 50% lease. And the images that you see here are not renderings. These are actual images of the suites themselves. The second local company, the Gallagher Company, some of you in this room may know Mike Gallagher, a local guy. And his dad started this company years ago, made a commitment to stay here in Willoughby. And he's growing his organization. Now, Mike Gallagher purchased a new business on the west side of Cleveland called Halo. They make sheet metal products. Simultaneously, the Reichert Steel building went up for sale on Elm Street. It's a very large, single-purpose building, very cut up. It's a hard sell. Mike and his brother Tom took the initiative to purchase the building, and they're renovating it now, and Halo Manufacturing will move into it. And what they're doing is you're seeing a locally owned company bringing skilled laborers back into our community and paying taxes. So my hats off to the Gallagher family. I can't say enough about them. Erickson Manufacturing. This is a local company. They're on Hammond Parkway. They're embarking on a 20,000 square foot addition to their facility. They're going to retain 84 positions in the current facility, and they're adding 36 new jobs. And again, these are manufacturing jobs, and this is our kind of our gold standard. If the more skilled labor jobs that we can get here in the city, the more manufacturing projects that are manufacturing jobs that we can get here in this city, that really does help our local economy. We just had a meeting yesterday with a company that's out of Painesville called Marball. Now, Marball, if you don't know them, they make plastic composites. They have a large manufacturing plant in Painesville, and they have an R&D facility out in Auburn Township in Geauga County. They're starting a new group called Ultraset, and this is going to be a high-temperature composite manufacturing company, whatever those words mean. And what they're going to be doing is they've purchased the building. This is the old Swage Lock building at the end of Hammond, sat empty for a long time. It's about 52,000 square feet. They're going to be starting renovations this year. They're going to have to do some beta testing in the lines and all that, but they hope to be fully operational in a year from now. So this is another. When we just sat down with Scott Baylog from Marball yesterday, so he kind of gave us this cook's tour on what he's doing. This is a $100 million company coming to our city. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And then we've got, the Brim has gone through several iterations, right? Brim, then it goes to Hola, and now it's going to be called Double D's Honky Tonk. Well, I don't have to tell a joke because you already got it, but let me. It's going to be a country western themed smokehouse, and it's a local family. It's the Dykstra family. Now, if you don't know the Dykstras, if there was a channel on one of the, I forget what news group thing was, but they own the Penfield House, which is Frank Lloyd Wright designed house on 174, and they built the sister home to it, which was the last home designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. And they did a special on a cable channel about it. So they're local folks, they invest heavily. And you could say it's Dustin Dykstra, or you could say it's Debbie Dykstra, Double D, or other people, much like you did just a second ago, thought about the other thing you could think about. So it did raise some eyebrows when they came in and mentioned the name. We all looked at each other, and he assured us that it's Dustin Dykstra, and I guess we're going to trust him on this one. Now, this is something that happened quite accidentally up on our north end. In our lakefront district, we had a vacant building. Brandt's Candies went dark, and that was disappointing because if any of you that have worked with Barbara Phillips over the years, I mean, she was my go-to place for anytime I had to make up with my wife about something. When I had a grandkids Easter candy, so that going dark really that was tough. Well, there's this character that comes out of Collinwood area. His name's Jeff, and he's leasing the building now. It's going to be Jeff's Candy Shop. This guy is a social media, I don't even know what force. He has 89,000 followers. So he's an influencer. And for those of you that are dialed into social media, influencers are good things. So we have an influencer that's here in our city, and our hope is that we can tap into get a tailwind with his fame and notoriety to start bringing more businesses to our north end. And it's really a big part of rethinking how we approach our north end in terms of what we can and can't do in terms of economic development. So I mentioned to you he's a character.
Well, we're about to do something crazy. Let's go ahead and take you guys inside. Welcome to Brandt's Candies. Brandt's was started in 1948 by George and Anges Brandt. For 57 years, the Brandt's family kept their candy making going up until 2005. In 2005, Barbara Phillips took over this candy shop and kept the Brandt's name going up until 2023. Unfortunately, in 2023, Mrs. Phillips passed away, and this building has laid dormant ever since. Well, that ends today. If you've followed me, you know how much I enjoy preserving history. And this place is filled with history. From these old-fashioned chocolate mixers, these antique candy stoves, an old-fashioned starch bucket for making creams, and these gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous candy-making tables. So, starting today, Jeff's Candy Shop will begin working on resurrecting this old candy kitchen. I don't know how long it will take, but then our intent is to move our operations here. I believe the customer experience will be legendary. You'll be able to come in the door, explore the candy shop, and then you'll come up here and we'll have this area sectioned off so you can actually watch the candy production take place. With that, we would like to start producing chocolates, and so we will have a whole chocolate room for dipping. And so I'm really excited about this journey. I hope you guys are excited as well. Until we're ready to move, we'll continue operation at the Waterloo location starting in February. I really appreciate you all for your support. I'm excited for this next chapter.
So this was in January. He's already in there. He's finished his remodeling. He's starting production. And my wife and I decided to treat everybody. We've got just small lemon things that we got from Jeff's place. So you'll be able to kind of do a sampling of his product. We're hopeful that he gets going with chocolate quickly, because that seems to be the magic stuff. So, and we, like I said, I think this is the kind of personality that could do great things for our North End and city in general, quite frankly, because a lot of eyes are on him. And I've heard several people tell me, I looked at one of his videos and I got hooked. I couldn't stop. So he's a force. He's a force. In other economic development news, the long-awaited Apollo Parkway project is going to be starting. Now, this had several hurdles. For those of you that may not know, this property was in federal court for over 20 years. The city was released some 5 years ago out of the court case, and the developer just 3 years ago was let out of the court case. The issue was over wetlands and determination of wetlands. And there was a federal case, the Sackett case, which set a new set of thresholds for wetlands. And the new thresholds now allows this project to be, you can build on this site now. Before it was virtually unbuildable. So what's happened thus far is the developers cleared the EPA, the ODNR, and the Army Corps of Engineers required approvals. There's two parts to the project. There's the 14 acres right at the intersection of Lost Nation and Route 2. We expect that to be commercial. And then there's 70 acres along Apollo Parkway. There's an extension there. And again, our hope is this will be light industrial manufacturing. You know, it's the gold standard that we're looking for economic development. They're marketing the property currently, and we're hopeful to start seeing some. We haven't seen drawings yet. They haven't approached us with drawings. We talk to them virtually every month, I think, about what they're doing, what the next steps are, what approvals they need. Oddly enough, one of the hamstrings in the project was there was an ODOT right-of-way right through their property, which had no value. It was left over from many years ago, and it took 6 months to get ODOT to release the easement, and the easement had no value whatsoever. So it just took forever every little thing, every step in this project took 3 years, it seemed like. What's also exciting is now they're going back and they're doing a wetlands analysis on the northern section. This is probably about another 70 acres of potentially developable property. And again, this is a highly traveled corridor. If you exclude Route 90, which is interstate, Route 2 is probably the most traveled corridor in Lake County, and this is one of the last remaining large tracts of land for development, for industrial development on the corridor. And speaking of Route 2, so has anybody noticed the lights are out? Yeah. So we, the city, not just every city along that corridor, which is Willoughby, Wickliffe, Eastlake, Willoughby, Mentor, and Paynesville, have now all come together to work with the county to try to develop a long-term plan to get those lights up and running permanently. And there's other things we're asking for, and that's some long-term maintenance on that tract of land. Simple things like lawn mowing, weed whacking, weed killing. And it's going to be, that conversation is going to be challenging. It's going to be each side's looking at each other saying your responsibility. So it's going to be a long and hard-fought negotiation. Our position is the lights have to be replaced, all of them, and that's about $1.6 million to do that. Our position right now, all 6 cities, is that the lights are their responsibility to repair. And then if we get past that hurdle, then the next question will be, in terms of maintenance, how are we going to divvy up maintenance? We do kick in a portion of our license plate fee every year, goes to the county for maintenance of that road. And so there's more to come on that. We'll keep you informed as we learn more about the details of that. In terms of infrastructure, Lost Nation Road roundabout. This is a very, very, very complex problem. We know we've got speeding problems on Lost Nation. It's a 4-lane road. We know in this particular instance, we've got an offset intersection. We've got Hudson going north of Western Parkway, or Willoughby Parkway, I'm sorry, and then Lost Nation Road. So turning maneuvers currently are very dangerous. So what we did is we took, we're currently asking for federal funding from both Senators Marino and Congressman Joyce and Senator Husted to secure funding for this. Now, everybody, it's federally directed spending, earmarks. Everybody and their brother's looking for it. In fact, we think the county's looking for it to pay for the lights that they should replace. So we, in any event, we made a hard pitch. I've made personal appeals to Dave Joyce myself on this. This is important. This is a challenging intersection, not only for the fact of the offset, it's right in the landings, the clear zone of the Lost Nation Airport. That green area you see is a no-bill zone. So we can't just put up a typical traffic light or a typical light pole. They have to be lower and they have to be collapsible, because the assumption is if a plane comes down, if they hit something, it's got to collapse. We've looked at 5 different alternatives for this site. And this is one of the roundabout is admittedly one of the more expensive options, but all the other options, and some of them included traffic signals and other things, all the other options affected one of the other roads negatively. So if we solve for the Hudson Road problem, we slowed traffic, we caused a problem on Lost Nation. If we solve for Lost Nation, we started a problem on Willoughby Parkway. This was the only solution that kept the level of service on all those roads the same, make sure that our life safety forces can get out safely to respond to an emergency. And there's a proven track record that roundabouts actually reduce accidents by 47%. I know me as well, sometimes they just drive you crazy because you get in it and you don't know where to get off, right? But they're proven to be safer. So it's going to do so many things for us, we believe. It's going to do traffic calming. It's going to be safer. It provides now a really cool gateway, not only to that airport, but our lakefront district. So it's a big opportunity. It's a big cost too. So we're going to keep at it until we shake everybody loose and get money. So as I said, we've got monies in for earmarks, federally directed spending, from our congressman and our senator. So infrastructure. Over the past years, our road program, we're going to talk about 2 things with this, sidewalks and roads. Over the last year, we had a forego road program because we had an emergency slope stabilization project that we had to deal with on Route 84. And we were fortunate, our city engineer carved out some dollars. We had to match them, however. It consumed most, if not all, of our road program. What we're going to be doing this year is increasing using our general fund. We're going to add some monies into our road program. Our road program is funded by a road levy. That levy only generates about $750,000 or so a year. And the problem is $750,000 today in road improvements isn't the same thing as $750,000 from 15, 20 years ago. So we're getting lesser road with that road program repair work. So we're going to ask for a few more dollars be included in our capital fund to refund this and get some of our roads fixed. And then also we're currently developing a citywide sidewalk program master plan, inventory and master plan. The first step is to find out where sidewalks don't exist, map it, and then determine what it would take to put sidewalks in there. Now, it's not a simple cost. It's not like $1,000 a lineal foot, because on Grant or on Hurricane, for example, there's culverts. And in order to put a sidewalk in, you have to put a pipe in so you can cover it, so you can put a sidewalk on top of it. So the cost per lineal foot of that walk is going to be more expensive than a sidewalk that's on Kirtland Road, for example. That's pretty much a clear path. So once we establish where the sidewalks are, what it costs to replace them, then we're going to somehow order rank them to say what are our priorities. And some that come to mind immediately, Route 84 at the intersection of Som Center Road and 91. That's very complex because if you look closely, there's slopes. It slopes and there's a lot of obstruction. So in order to put sidewalks in, there's grading that has to happen. There's possibly, and we found this out on Som Center Road when we put sidewalks in, there could be owner-installed obstructions, fences, landscaped areas. So it's going to take a while for us to generate that. Again, what we're going to do this year is we're going to request of council, and we've chatted with council about this, they all know this, that we introduce some money through our general fund to start a brand new fund that'll be a sidewalk fund, and we'll start adding into it yearly. It'll take time. And then in the meantime, we're actually going to create this study, and we've already applied for some grant monies for this as well. Events. So we're doing the same thing, right, that we've done the last few years. We've got 13 different concerts in the city. Most of them are in downtown Willoughby. 4 of them are up at Osborne Park. They've been tremendously successful. And as a point of reference, at our gazebo concerts, on a good night, a band that has a pretty good following, we get about maybe 500 people. At Osborne Park, when we have a good band in a nice evening, we get like 1,500 people. Osborne Park is an attraction. It is a place to go. And once we finish improving the Osborne Park shoreline, it's only going to increase. And I'm very sorry for this. We couldn't figure out this blackout little thing. So other events. This past year we saw 2 new events happen. One in association with the bar and restaurants, and then a second with the merchants. The bar and restaurants hosted Nashua last year. They just closed Glen Avenue down. It was very, very successful. We're bringing it back this year in August. And the gold ticket raffle was a clever way to get traffic into our merchants during the holiday season. And that worked as well too. I mean, we had a lot of tickets out there. And to our team, the city acted only as a support tool for the Bar and Restaurant Association for Nashua and as a support tool for the gold ticket raffle. But I can tell you, before the gold ticket raffle, there were boxes all over upstairs in economic development because we had to have boxes to put gold tickets in. And Shayna and Judine were cutting slots in boxes so that we could help them with a gold ticket raffle. Both are successful. We're going to bring them both back this year. And something we're really excited about is this year we're the only city in northern Ohio that can say is doing this. It's America's 250th birthday, right? Everybody's trying to out-elbow everybody to what we're going to do. We're going to do something special. We're going to have this. We're going to have that. We're going to have the Cleveland Pops in downtown Willoughby, and no one else can say that. There's only one Cleveland Pops, right? And this is a world-renowned orchestra that we're going to have come play for us. And I can't thank some of our sponsors enough, and there's some here. Jeannie Fleming-Gifford from Andrews Osborne is going to allow us to use the front lawn, which, by the way, right after the concert, the fireworks are going off, so you've got the best seats in the house to watch both the concert and the fireworks. And also, Fine Arts Association is a sponsor, Maroos Management Services is a sponsor, Willoughby Post-Acute Care is a sponsor, and the Willoughby Works Foundation is a sponsor. So we've cobbled together multiple funding sources to get them here. And we're anxious to see how this works because, like I said, it's not often, Jeannie, you remember the Pops coming to Willoughby? So we hope everybody takes the time to be there. Now, I will say this. We already anticipate this is going to be a traffic and a parking issue. So we're strategizing how to get people there and back and not have to walk a half a mile. So Judine Banker's going to solve that problem for us. And then let's take a look at some of the continuing projects that are ongoing. And we'll share with you who's working on them, where they're at, what their current status is, and how they're funded. There's 7 of them, and we'll start from the north end of our city, which is the Osborne Park project. Now, this actually happened because of you may or may not remember, for those of you in the north end surely remember, we had high water levels back in 2018, I think it was. They were historic. They were 36 inches in high water, and that set a record for high water. We lost about 40 foot of our shoreline the high water not only went past the barriers that were there, it took another 30 feet away. And the slope, as it was both dangerous and unsightly. I mean, it's just a bad look when you have people come to a concert and you've got snow fence barricading the lake. So we've cobbled together funding from a group of sources, and it's in 2 phases. The first phase is $3.4 million, and what it's going to be is a small sand beach, 2 jetties. The design team is a Smith Group. Mark Haynes Construction is a contractor. And then we were fortunate to get a second grant from National Fish and Wildlife, and that grant was for another $3 million. And so what we're doing is pretty much wrapping up all the shoreline. We're adding the cobble beach, a small jetty it's called a council ring. It's just a place for people to go out and sit by the lake. And then we're continuing the revetment all the way to the eastern edge of the lakefront. And we're going to have the walkways that go down to the lakefront, and it's going to be landscaped. The project in total is about $7.6 million. The 7.6, the difference is really the cost of everything else. It's the engineers, it's the permitting, it's legal fees, it's all that, contingencies, all of that. The project's underway. Here you can see 2 photos. These were just taken yesterday. And if you want to see that a little closer, check this out. Now, it's amazing to see an excavator of that size work with material that large and get it exactly where it needs to be. I mean, this is like a ballet, only with heavy equipment, right? Oh. Mark Haynes, by the way, has a long history of it. He's done much of the shorefront renovations along all of the north coast of both Cleveland, worked in Euclid. And you got to love the guy. He's the kind of guy that comes to a meeting with khaki shorts and boots that aren't laced up. So you just want to hug him. And our hats off to some of the neighbors up here, the Yutsies especially, right next door. They're dealing with heavy equipment, heavy material going through that literally in front of their house every day, and they've been more than gracious with us in seeing this project through. And I do apologize for that. So you can see the project's underway. Now you'll see a little bit of that edge where that excavator is, the sand beach, cobble beach next to it. And we're so happy to see us go forward. We think this is an important project because, getting back to economic development, the North End, and Mark, you know it better than anybody, we have struggled mightily to get something traction up there. And, the story that we hear from people that are, like Aldi's, we talked to Aldi's, we've talked to Dollar General, they're at it, they say, we want to see rooftops. And when your market area is cut by the lake, you lose 50% of your rooftops, and they say fish don't buy. So it's been a struggle, and so we've had to sit back and look at this a little bit. And the more we thought about it, is the more, now we're going to have this tremendous lakefront. In my opinion, it'll be the best lakefront park in Lake County. And now we got Jeff's Candy Shop, an influencer. So our attitude now is, maybe what we do is we start looking at the lakefront district as a tourist attraction. We got a park, we got JT's, we've got JoJo's, we've got Charlotte's, we got Jeff's. We have all the pieces in place now to really pull something off special in the North End. And I think that's going to take now just to kind of refocus and say, maybe we're not going to get an Aldi's, but you know what? Let's get in a couple more Jeff's down here, or a burger shop or something else. And we'll drive business that way. By the way, we've one of the questions that we'll go over tonight is there was questions about we've had 2 plans over the years: a Civic Vision 2004 and a Civic Vision 2020. And one of the questions that we got online was a question about how much have we done with Civic Vision 2020 specific to the Lakefront District. So I went back and took a look at that. There were 3 primary things that they said we should be focusing on. Number 1 is new housing, and there has been new housing there. In fact, there's two sides of that sword, right? New housing will usually come in, and some of these homes are hundreds of thousands of dollars. They increase property values, right? So when you sell your house, you're going to sell it probably for more. The other side of that equation is that your property taxes go up. So I think we're making good headway in terms of new housing in the North End. The second was you create a corridor of an economic development corridor. And again, I'm thinking that corridor no longer is going to be we still need merchants and things up there, no question about it. But that corridor may in fact be a tourist corridor, places that people can shop that have to do with our lakefront. And then the last, interestingly enough and quite by accident, is Osborne Park. They said Osborne Park has to be activated. You need to get people down there. You need to be able to have them put their feet in the water. And we're doing that right now. So we're going to have a great park, arguably, if not the best, one of the two best parks in our city, best lakefront park in Lake County, in my opinion. The next project is Chagrin River Trail. So the Chagrin River Trail has been kicking around. Right now we're waiting for permits. Again, anytime, the permits for Osborne Park, by the way, took 24 months. 24 months to get a permit for work that's going to take about 8 months. So just think of that. Because we had to jump over state agencies, federal agencies. We had to do submerged land leases. It's just a lot. We're kind of encountering that similar thing with the Chagrin River Trail right now. We're working with the EPA because we're going to be working in the river, and it's a protected environment, so we've got to be careful there. But we've secured the funding that we need. We have a contractor, a design-build contractor. Actually, the contractor is the Smith Group, out of the Smith Group and Biohabitats. You may know Biohabitats because they did, for those of you familiar with 84, on the right, they just recently completed the realignment of the east branch of the Chagrin River and put some coins in there to divert traffic, water flow. Same group, and they did an excellent job on that project. And the project is about $5 million in hard construction costs. The contracts are awarded. Total budget's about 7.3. The 7.3 includes land acquisition, which was paid for by NOAA, the federal government. So we got 125 acres for free, and then we collected, the rest of these are coming from federal, local, and state grant monies. One of these days I'm going to add all these up because it's got to be into the teens, right? And by the way, it's under construction now. We'll see work at the end of this year, and then carrying into next year is going to be the heavy construction. We'll actually see the bridge installed and the trails installed. Todd Field. Many years ago, one of our first state capital grants was for an amphitheater at Todd Field, and there were two grants, $300,000 for the amphitheater itself, another $300,000 for access. And the access is going to be the part of that get us over to the bridge that's going to cross over the river. And but over the past few years, we've been reassessing the scale of this program, and for two reasons. One is because we've, the baseball leagues and the people that use this field all the time in the summer have expressed concerns. So we've scaled it back so we don't interfere with the playing surfaces. But we took a step back and looked at this. And by the way, the grant itself did allow us some flexibility. The way it was written said it's the amphitheater and associated amenities or something like that. Well, we look at parking. We look at access down Glen Avenue as an associated amenity. So we're going to start to roll some of those dollars away from the amphitheater, improve the experience coming down Glen Avenue, open it up, make it fresher, better lighting, and then improve parking and hopefully add more parking at Todd Field. And that's a problem that goes beyond the baseball fields. It's a problem for downtown in general. So we're going to just kind of reshuffle those dollars. And the other thing this is just recently, over the past several weeks, we've been thinking about this, that at Osborne Park, we could have simply put erosion control and walked away. We were done. Didn't have to do any of this fun, looking for funding or any of that. So we took a bold step. All of us, city council and the mayor and the administrator said, look, if we're going to do something, if we're going to spend money, let's do it the right way. Let's fix everything, not just the lakefront, right? We took a step back here just internally in the past few weeks saying, look, if we're going to do things for Todd Field and use a draw like the amphitheater and improve parking and better access, we really got to look at the whole thing. And we got to freshen up those fields. The baseball league, we're working with, in fact, we have a meeting with them tomorrow or actually Councilman Anderson, who's kind of leading the charge on this, to talk about what we can do. It's going to be, and by the way, it's just not this field. We've got fields at Gilson, at Osborne. This is probably going to have a long runway for improvements, and it's going to take multiple years to get everything done. By the way, the design team for Todd Field is our city engineer, Verdantis. We have not bid the work yet. And again, our baseball fields will not be impacted, and we're going to be looking at other ways to make these fields better, more attractive, and a better playing surface for the kids that are playing down there. Downtown Willoughby, excuse me. So over the past 2 years or so, we've been meeting with the Restaurant and Bar group and the Merchants Association, and we hear the things that the challenges that they normally face. There's a parking issue, tough landlords, the vacancies, and we started scratching our head and saying, maybe it's time we take a step back. We're so close to the problem that maybe we have to look at this, have somebody else come in and look at it. So what we did is we enlisted the services of a group out of Bellefontaine, Ohio, of all places, called Small Nation. They are experts in talking to communities, small, historic downtowns, in terms of what do you do to refresh yourself or rethink yourself, or rethink what you're doing. And we spent a day down there looking at what's happened at Bellefontaine. Then they spent a day up here looking at Willoughby and kind of saying, what do you have here? What can we see? What we found out is that they came, after both those trips, they came back to us and they said, look, you've got good bones here. I mean, Bellefontaine, you're 20 years ahead of Bellefontaine is right now. We were like literally empty. You've got a lot of good things happening. There's just some tweaks that you need to make yourself better. And so some of them you'll see here in the slides, and these are we should have thought of them, quite frankly. We shouldn't have hired a consultant to tell us, but some of them, they came up with a total of 21 recommendations, 9 of which are easy to do, and we're implementing them as we speak. 4 are going to be led by our partner organizations, meaning we're going to assign those tasks to the bars and restaurant folks and the merchants and help them do them. And then 8 were not viewed as a strong fit for our community for any number of reasons. But some of them you'll see here, a wayfinding system, a simple, easy way for our guests to walk in our downtown and say, Frank and Tony's is right there. That's where I want to go, or Sage is down over there, or et cetera is right over here. That's something we can do quickly. It's an easy fix. We're going to do it. The second is just to make the vacancies look more presentable, right? I mean, there's nothing worse than looking into an empty building all the time, right, Mark? Oh, yeah. One thing we do is we're going to figure out how to do these window scrims to cover it up. We've seen these in malls, right? Like this could be your tenant space, coming soon kind of space. That would just have a better look, and it just tells a story that we're a city that's on the rise, and you're going to be lucky to come here and be a tenant. And then the last is a rather interesting concept, and this is everybody familiar with pinstripes? So we had a young man who lives up on the north end, come to visit with Tom and I and Shana a few weeks ago, and he wants to make an investment in our city, and he wants to have this pinstripe concept, but much smaller. And here's the story he said, which is really compelling. He said, look, I've got 2 kids at home, 7 and 9 or something like that. And he says, we go out to dinner in Willoughby at 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, what do? There's no place for a family to go hang, right? And he said, we need a place. And he showed us actually some sketches. We need a place. He didn't describe it this way, but like a pinstripes, a place where a dad can go and have a beer and the kids can bowl or shoot hoops. And so we're encouraging to take this a step forward. It's going to mean that we have to kind of amend our code a little bit, because right now this would be a gaming establishment and they're not allowed in our code. So we have to tweak our code. Now, when that code was written, that's when there were, when the video game phase was there. So it's an antiquated code. And speaking of codes, by the way, we're just talking within the past week. It's time to update our comprehensive plan, because it's now 10 years old. There are code sections that are either antiquated or don't function anymore. There are code sections we don't want. And there's code sections like this that are really preventing us from doing something kind of cool downtown. So this is, and again, what we're finding is that people no longer go downtown just to shop or go downtown just to eat. And sometimes they do just go downtown to have drinks after 10. But That said, we need to extend our day. We need people to come down at lunch, shop, have a cocktail, eat dinner, and stay and do something else. And that's where we're going to get our best push in downtown Willoughby. And so extending our day is our goal. And we think some of these experiential kinds of activities like the pinstripes thing is a way to get that done. And then this is project's pretty much hot off the press, and I'll explain what this is about. The West Point Park, and we shared with you just a moment ago, 25 Public Square. And 25 Public Square is, creates a new buzz, people that are literally a walk from downtown Willoughby. And as part of that negotiation, we asked the developer to kick in to do a master plan for our West Point Park. And what's happened over the years with West Point Park is we've got a ton of really cool artifacts that are there. And, but they're all over the place. You got a picnic table over there, and you got a thing over here, and something else over there. So we asked Canopy Design to come in and kind of take a fresh look at this and say, can we organize this better and make it look more like I call it a central park, our central park. And so these are very, very preliminary concepts. They haven't gone anywhere yet other than just to look at. And we're hoping to take them, advance them a little bit further. And then eventually, we're already talking to Willoughby East Lake Library. For those of you that are familiar, they've got a large front lawn. And they're interested in partnering with us to redo their lawn to be almost an extension of West Point Park. And they want to do a reading garden in there. So it's just a great, it's different, a not-for-profit working with a city government, working to make an asset for all of us. And so we think this is a unique opportunity. We really see that corner, the little corner of that property. Right now there's a fountain in there. It's the fountain that the South High kids pour suds in every year and they bubble over. We really think that corner could be better utilized with something that's more interactive, that just speaks more to our public square, if you will. So we've already been in contact. That was done by an Eagle Scout, by the way. We've been in contact with them. We've let them know that we may be considering doing something different on that corner. We'll of course acknowledge him. We'll take his plaque and reset it so that he's acknowledged for having done the fountain. But we're excited. We think this is going to be just a fresh new way to tell a story in Willoughby. Moving a little bit further south, our Willoughby Police Station. So we're about 70% right now. And the construction budget at bid time was about $11,560,000. That was the actual bid amount. We've had 2 change orders thus far. But what's important is the total budget for this project is $17.3 million. And with change orders, if there's change orders or not, that budget is still going to end up at 17.3. So where's the gap? Where's that $6 million, right? Well, it's the property acquisition, it's legal fees, it's bond counsel, it's testing and services like that. So and then we have a contingency. So what we're doing is the contingency is used to pay for change orders. And as that contingency descends, and hopefully there's leftover contingency, that money then goes back into the safety levy. So the contingencies are backstop. 17.3 million is our end game, absolute. And then any money that's left over goes back to safety forces. As I'd mentioned, the project is 70% done. The thing that has hampered us this year is this miserable winter. Part of it's renovation. That's really far advanced. If you've been down Maple or Grove, you've probably seen it. There's a jail addition that's being built. That has been hampered by the weather. We just lost 3 weeks of weather where they couldn't lay block. So we're hopeful to catch up. I will say that what we're thinking of doing is, and here you see some pictures. What we'd like to do is sometime, the occupancy for the building, the renovated building, will probably occur sometime late June, early July. The jail will follow probably 30 days later. But as we kind of wrap up both projects and before we do the formal ribbon cutting, we'd like to have our citizens, we're going to do a hard hat tour and have all of you tour that facility, because if you remember, this was passed by a safety levy that was passed with 75% of the vote. So we have an obligation to show you what you've just paid for. And I think you'll be impressed. And you can see some photos here that's coming along. This is just from Tuesday of this week. The 2 photos to the left are actually our dispatch center. It will be state-of-the-art. And I'm telling everybody, and Matt Tartaglia, I hope I'm saying it correctly, but this will be the most advanced, technically dispatch center in Lake County, including the counties. So we're proud to say that our dispatch center is here to stay. Not only that, we're going to increase capacity. And as you know, our dispatchers are the first responders. Without them, it's not good. I have just a little quick anecdotal story about those two photos. Those are our actual dispatch consoles. So Matt Tartaglia, who happens to be a resident of Willoughby, besides being our assistant police chief, in an effort to save every single dollar he can out of this project, carried him and a few of his other police officers off duty, carried all those dispatch consoles up to the second floor because the elevator shut down because of construction. And then Matt himself was there till Saturday night at 11:30 at night putting these together. So when you talk about our safety forces and our public employees trying to do everything possible to save you money, this is a case of it. And Matt, I shared with you on a text, I don't know any better way than spending a night at Meister Publishing Company putting dispatch centers together. So, and the middle picture is actually we're saving some milk. The middle picture is some millwork we saved from the original construction. We saved every possible thing we could in the building. The upper right-hand corner is going to be our new detective bureau. And then some of the new features that we're going to have with this station include, this building was never built for female officers. So we had to cobble together spaces for our female officers. We're going to finally have a locker room for our female officers as well as our male officers. We're going to have a training center. You'll see it right there. Our chief and our assistant chief are both advocates for making sure our officers are the best trained officers so that when bad things happen, they can deal with them, whatever they would be. And then some of the most sophisticated filing systems so that when we get records requests, we can retrieve records quickly. Just one comment too about, one more photo too. So we've got, this is the jail edition, and this was taken on Tuesday at the job meeting. You can see how far it's behind. It's just the weather. And they're making progress now, and like I said, we're expected to be done sometime in August. And the moment we do, we're going to have everybody come and join us. And I just want to make one more comment about police. Todd, I'm not trying to short circuit fire. I love you guys too. But just one comment. You may have seen some of these Wednesday warrant things on Facebook. And there's been a lot of chatter. How about Felon Friday? How about that? Or how about Taco Tuesday? Well, there's a good intent for that. First, we had raised eyebrows about it as well. But we talked to our lieutenant detective who actually authored these. And believe it or not, they're working. And for those of you that may be involved with urban design, I spent my whole life in it. There's an author named Jane Jacobs who wrote a book in the 60s called The Death and Life of Great American Cities. And she coined the phrase, eyes on the street. And what eyes on the street are you and us watching over our neighbors. So if the kids are in the front yard with their kids, you're watching them. If your neighbor, you haven't seen your elderly neighbor in a few years or a few days, you call the police department, right? For some of us, maybe not all of us. But the point being that we all have an obligation to help our police department do their job. We can't be everywhere all the time. So we have to be eyes on the street. So getting back to Warrant Wednesday, those are people, some of them I don't even think were criminals from Willoughby. They just have a warrant out. We've caught two of them, one I think within a day, and then one within 3 days because somebody called and said, I saw that guy here, I know this guy. So what it's doing, it's helping us solve crimes. So it raised a lot of eyebrows, I guess, and even for us, is this something we should be doing? But I got to tell you, it's working. People are calling. And then finally, our Euclid Avenue pool. As you know, we had to mothball the pools a couple years ago due to safety reasons. We were losing, I think, 3,500 gallons a day of water. Concrete was less than an inch thick in some areas. So we enlisted the services of Brandstetter Carol Zofkin and our noted architect, pool designer. Actually, they did the Osborne Park pool up north. And we went through several iterations. Our first thought was, let's just do a splash pad. It's fast, easy, we can get it done quickly. But we have a championship swim team, Stingers. I think they've three-peated now. And they're doing everything they can to, show Willoughby in a great light. And it's a disservice to them to say, we're just going to, force you to be at Osborne Park forever. So The current program calls for a competitive pool, a splash pad, and a zero-depth pool. We're going to try to save and recondition and rebuild the existing locker facilities and concession areas. Pool house has to be rebuilt because the systems are going to be brand new. And we're in just planning stages right now. We've met several times, both in a community meeting, and then also with a committee that was put together to help talk us through this a little bit. And we're going to re-engage the public in this summer again about how we can how we can determine what we're going to do for Euclid Avenue Pool, how long it's going to take, and how are we going to fund it. Now, I look at it from an urban planning standpoint. Euclid Avenue, our best, most affordable housing stock is Ridge Acres, right? It's the post-World War II bungalows, and there's about, I think, 1,000 of them up in that area. We need to get young families in this city. I mean, our average age is 45 years old. We need to replenish us with young families that, come here, in a perfect world, they go to Riverwalk, guy and a gal, they meet each other, they date, they get married, and they buy a house at Ridge Acres. So that's my utopia, and I'm sticking to it. But anyway, what we want to do is we need to keep our youngsters here. We can't let them escape. And Ridge Acres, if we could figure a strategy to get Ridge Acres fresh and something that's appealing to a young family or a young husband and wife, that'd be great. But they're going to want a swimming pool to walk their kids to. Our first house, Joanne and I's first house, was in Ridge Acres. And we walked, at that time, there was Cagini's down at the old plaza down there in the putt-putt place. And we walked down there with our kids. And so we need that pool back. We need it back because it sits next to a lot of rooftops that can use it. And we've got people that use it right now that deserve better. So we're going to be working with them. So that's it for me tonight. A couple things I just want to close on. One is that we're working hard every day to figure better and newer ways to communicate with our residents. And it's a challenge because every time we say go to Facebook, there's somebody who says, I don't use Facebook. Then we say we use email. They say, well, I don't use email. So we're trying to broaden our ability to communicate with audiences using different tools. And so right now we've got social channels. We've got our newsletter that comes, Willoughby Times that comes out once a month. And we've got our videos that we do on our website. And anything you want to find are there if you're comfortable looking there, right? So we need you all to kind of tell us, look, here's a clever way you can communicate with us. And you're going to see a QR code. There's only one question, and that just asks you, what is the best way for you personally? Your name's not attached to it. Or it might be, right? Because we want the email, I think we have the email address. But anyway, we just want to know from you, what's the easiest and best way for us, for me, for the city, to communicate with you, our residents. And recently I was just saying this morning that we could do a mailer, right? But a mailer costs $10,000. And then we're going to get hammered because people are going to say, it's a political document. You're using city money to send a political document out. So probably not something we're going to do. So we need other tools. Just tell us what they are, where you go, what you see. The other thing too, and Shana Boyd's been responsible for this effort. Some of you belong to the WEN system at Lake County, which is the alert system. They text you when there's a major storm event, flood. So we're actually going to be implementing that. We're beta testing it right now, and it's going to be specific to Willoughby. So that we know that there's 6,000 Willoughby residents that are on this program. It's a county program. We can have it more or less geofenced around Willoughby so that now we can say Republic's a day late. There's a snow emergency in downtown Willoughby, severe storm warning. So keep your eyes open for that because it's another tool that we can get to you quickly, or you can get to us quickly with your thoughts and comments. So I don't know if I mentioned beforehand, but we had some note cards that I don't think we passed them out, did we, Shana? We're gonna hand out some notes cards for anybody that has questions. And we did get some via email, so I'm going to start to answer some of these that we got via email. So the first one the question was, what can be done about the sign on Som Center Road that has Trump and Jesus on it? It's clearly political. No question, it's clearly political, but it's not legal. It's not illegal. The First Amendment rights allow that to happen. It becomes illegal when it becomes obscene language or it references obscene material. So we've had other signs that weren't as gentle, and they used the F word in it. We've called them and said, take it down, flag, take it down. So while we wish it wasn't there, we can't take it. We can't have them take it away. It's a violation of their First Amendment right, whether we like it or not. One question was, can you speak to the city's priorities moving forward with the public safety spending and the best way to connect with city council? I think we talked about some of that already. And the connection, and just let us know how you want to communicate with us, and we'll figure some way to do it. And by the way, I'd just share another story with you. We tried a mayor's night out once about 5 years ago. And the intent was for me just to find a place to sit down and talk. We had 8 people there. 4 of them were our city administrators. So I'm there, you just got to show up. So just let us know how we can talk to you. Another question, what is the timeline for the new police station? I just told you it'll be fully complete by the end of August. The city pool, we just talked about that. Is there any timeline for the walkway in the area that's going to Daniels Park? That'll happen next year. And part of this $600,000 grant for Todd Fields is that walkway that gets us to the new project. How does the city plan to manage long-term maintenance of Osborne Park? This is a good question. So I look at it this way. The question is, we're going to have this great amenity. How do you police it, manage it? That park was more dangerous 6 months ago than it's going to be 6 months from now. And the reason was it was a clear cliff. I saw kids swimming down there in the area between the cliff and where the old revetment was. It was dangerous. It was dangerous. So in general, is it going to be safer? Absolutely, it's going to be safer. We're going to police like we always do. We've got a police presence up there. We've got Parks and Recs teams that are up there, cleaning, keeping things clean. So I don't see, and safety concerns by open water, that's a hard one to address. It's
Lifeguards or lifeguards going to be there?
No. So another question is there plans to strengthen ongoing community engagement efforts for future city plans? I've noticed a lack of input opportunities for projects, and hopefully more community input can be implemented. Absolutely. So we'll keep, again, we have the events and we do the best we can to promote them, but I don't think we're getting to the right people. So we just let us know what's the best way to communicate with you. We talked about small nation. There was a question about what we can expect from small nation. This question, according to watershed improvement plans, all municipalities, including Willoughby, to be currently in the process of developing watershed improvement plans and improving. At what stage are we at the process? And there's mandatory reporting, formal watershed assessment report. We actually did this. We actually developed. The agencies that govern this are 2. It's FEMA, F-E-M-A, Federal Emergency Management Group, and FIMA, which is the insurance group. That's who we report to. They establish our floodplains with our engineers' help, and then that affects people's insurance, because if you're in a floodplain, you pay more. That plan was actually drafted in 2016, and then it updated in 2023. To date, and this one had to do specifically with Two-Town Creek. So to date, there's that watershed in Two-Town Creek is Two-Town Creek, Corporation Creek, and there's a third one too, Two-Town Ditch, Corporation Creek, and a third one. So far to date, we've spent $10 million on that watershed improvements. There are still some additional improvements to do. So we've invested money. We've been slowly nibbling it away at our stormwater plan. But I think the plan when we first had it released was somewhere in the $20 million mark, maybe even more than that. So we've been nibbling away at it. The construction project you see in front of Maroos Brothers, that's a stormwater management project. Uptown Willoughby, this is from Rob and Mark. I think I talked about that a little bit. That's our lakefront district. Is it possible to get a left turn arrow on the street light at intersection of Euclid Avenue westbound and Shankland? We looked at that. Actually, I think that we have a traffic report on that now. And that, when they put the Cardinal Credit Union thing there, we actually did a traffic report. And I don't know, I'd have to check into that. Our city engineer has to do some studies on that to see if it's possible. And if we don't restrict, when you try to do the right thing in anything, you never know what the unintended consequences are. What we don't want to do is have do something traffic-wise that ends up be worse. And I'll give you a case in point, by the way. For those of you that try to get through 84 and 91 in morning or afternoon or rush hour. The sequencing on those lights is horrible. I got a call about it 2-3 weeks ago, and then Joanna and I lived through it about a week ago. So we have to do resequence those lights. People pull in, they crash the red light, they sit in the middle of the intersection so the opposing traffic can't get by. And I'm hoping, we haven't studied it yet, but I'm hoping that it's just sequencing lights different so traffic can push through. Why do we need an open container area? I think this is the DORA. That's a good question. I'm not in favor of it. Is it possible to get the left turn arrow on the street light at the intersection of Euclid Avenue and West? Yeah, we already have a left turn arrow there, so I'm not sure what this question's about. Is it possible to get a left turn arrow on the street light at the intersection of Euclid westbound? We do have a left turn arrow there. I'm sorry, this is Euclid and Shanklin, not 84 and Shanklin. Yeah, this is similar to the same question. Moving forward to the 2020 vision, Lakeshore District, what progress is made? I think I shared that with you. Two of the three ranked initiatives, I think we're doing pretty well in. It's the spurring the retail in the commercial base there. It is a struggle, and it's going to continue to be a struggle till we figure it out. Who made the decision about the types of light bulbs that all street lights are being replaced with in the city? Dan, you want to answer this one? They're unnecessarily bright, right? Yes, you're exactly right. They're LEDs. First Energy maintains our street lights, and you pay. Every one of us pays a street light assessment for them. They've slowly been weaning away from high pressure sodium and metal halide lamps over the years, to the point now where they used to have an inventory of them. So in neighborhoods, they would replace it with a similar light. They're kind of done with that program now, either because they've decided to stop it or they just simply ran out of lights. So we do have some strategies that we can shield lights, and for residential neighborhoods, we can shield lights or put devices on them to make them dimmer. But I think the best news is just in the past couple of weeks, First Energy reached out to us and said they finally have found the solution to changing the light color. It's one thing to be bright, but bright white is something else. Bright orange or yellow, more warmer, that's a little bit easier. And we just found out that they are now making, and they actually asked us what do we prefer. So Dan and I, without talking to each other, both said to take the
prioritize River Street?
Yeah. Yeah, so the bottom line is, and they go by Kelvin, so 4,000 Kelvin, I think, is the one that is the very bright white, 3,000, so we said 3,000 Kelvin. What are some ways that a new church could be an asset to the city? This is an interesting question. This is the second time I've gotten this question by a different person the past week. I think our churches, and I connect with the Ministerial Association pretty frequently, they're looking for ways to do outreach, right? And they kind of do some of it already. They do food distribution, AA meetings. They have other things that they do on an ongoing basis. I think they're struggling, like a lot of churches are, with getting people in, like we are, getting people engaged, getting them to come up and help. So we're going to be meeting with one of them, Tom Willoughby, on Thursday, I think tomorrow of this week. I think tomorrow, and we're going to kind of help them out. I mean, I think it's if we're happy to support the programs, of course, but we don't want to be the marketing department for a church. It's inappropriate, first of all. But if they have something that's important, like a food drive, we'll share it. And so we'll use our resources and tools for things that have a bigger community benefit. As online shopping continues to grow, we've seen a significant increase in delivery. Oh, this is a really good question. Delivery couriers stopping in busy two-lane highways like 84 to unload, reducing it to a single lane, and would the administration consider a plan to update our city ordinances to prohibit delivery like this? So there's two things we're going to do for you. First is, and this is Leo, two things we're going to do for you. One is we have to check the ORC to see if we even have the authority to alter a state route, right? But it's a live question, because there's nothing worse, especially going up 84 Road Hill and getting stuck and you can't see. So if you're trying to go around a vehicle, you don't have the visibility to do it safely. So we're going to first check with ORC to see who controls that and if we have the flexibility. And then we're going to, our intent is to, one of the things I did mention is we're hoping to do, or maybe I did mention, we're hoping to do a comprehensive master plan. Part of that plan is not only going to take a look at all the other plans and how we've succeeded or not and what we should be doing, but secondly, it's going to take a little bit deeper look into our codes to say this code, game room code, is antiquated, it needs to be rewritten. We need to take this out of this area because it's no longer pertinent. So we're going to selectively go through our zoning code now and change some things there. So it's worth looking at, and I don't know where the answer is going to land, but it's a good question. What can be done about the sign on Som Center Road? Okay, that's where I started. Anyway, I want to thank everybody. We're coming to the end of our time. We have a couple more questions. By the way, before I read these questions too, there's a couple things you should grab. One is there's a handout outside that has a few things on, and we also have a Discover Downtown Willoughby brochure that has a map of all of our businesses in downtown and what they do. And I failed to mention to you that Torrey Lake County is kicking in $5,000 as part of a marketing program for our downtown, in harmony with the Small Nation thing. And that money is going to be spent $2,500 by the Bar and Restaurant Association and $2,500 by the merchants. They're kicking in $5,000, and then Torrey Lake County is kicking in $5,000. Oh, this is a great. I love this question. Will the remains of the Glen Avenue Bridge at Todd be left alone? Half of those on one side of that bridge abutment. If you go all the way down the Glen, you'll see the power lines going over. There's two bridge abutments on each side of the river. The bridge abutment on the Andrews Osborne side of that river is collapsing already. Half of those rocks, they're big boulders, are in the river right now. On our side, it's still pretty stable, and we intend to keep it, clean it up a little bit, make it kind of a cool thing, you know, light it or something. What's interesting is the boulders that have fallen in the river from the AOA side, this is the weirdest thing ever. We have the ability to go and harvest those. And you know, for the EPA, who says you can't even walk in a river anymore, for them to go ahead and say, look, we would like you to take those out. And the reason is this, that is impeding water flow. So those boulders come out, water goes more swiftly, and our floodplain elevation drops. And that's important because the bridge that's crossing the river, it has to be built above the floodplain elevation. So the lower we can get the calculations to show the floodplain dropping, the more money it's going to save us. But what we'd like to do is harvest those stones, bring them out, and then cut them up or use them as part of the amphitheater seating, or keep them. We want them to be part of our story, right? It is a part of our story. So we'd like to harvest them, bring them out, and then reuse them. And we want to reuse them at Todd Fields. And then the last one is the new short-term rental code laws effective immediately. How will this be enforced? Airbnb. Okay, so for those of you that may not know, the Airbnb is out there. It's been out there for a long time. And there's a movement at the state sponsored by the realtors to allow Airbnbs. And council and administration worked quickly to get short-term rental code in effect, because we were told that if we don't have a short-term rental code in effect at the time the state affects a short-term rental policy, theirs will supersede anything we do subsequent to it. So we need to get out there. So we had a lot of discussions about this. And are they good? Are they bad? I could argue that short-term rentals in neighborhoods are not good. Neighborhoods are about people, your neighbor that you see every morning going to work, or the kids down the street. That's a neighborhood. Short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods, in my opinion, dissolve that to some extent. What the current code says now is short-term rentals are not permitted in any residential district in the city of Willoughby, first of all. They're only permitted in downtown Willoughby and in the lakefront district. And the reason is we want people down there, because those are people that probably come to town and spend money. So it's the commercial corridor along Lakeshore up north, and it's downtown Willoughby. Now, if you suspect that, and we're doing this on a complaint basis, if you suspect that there's somebody operating a short-term rental nearby or next to you, give us a call. We'll go out there and investigate it, and if they are, we're going to ask them to stop. So this is a case where we're going to need your help, because we don't live with it every day. So I hope that answers your question. And with that, listen, I want to thank everybody. You've been more than gracious. I just talked an awful lot, and I want to thank everybody for coming out on an almost spring day. So thank you.